Before you even came into this world, your mother was married to my son, the real owner of Las Bandidas. Why hasn't your father told you anything about it?
They called you up to offer you a job?
Yes.
How come? Who is sick, eh?
Just an old friend's husband. You remember Milena?
Corey? What's up? What happened?
Fabi, I know everything. Now I know everything.
Buda, tuko na mgala wako hapa.
Who the hell are you?
Tunataka kupiga exchange. Kwa hiyo prisoner mko naye hapo na wewe mgala.
Prisoner mgani unaongea kuhusu nini?
Lola.
Uko sawa?
Niko sawa.
Ni uchungu sijui imetoka wapi.
Lola. Uko sawa je, unapiga nduru? Nini mbaya?
Unapa close. Twende Zari. Unapa close.
مياد أوغاتي عدتي شيء الكيغا.
نعم.
وحربا إني قذان.
Zari.
وحربا إني وهذا الإنتان.
What's wrong with Julia? What are they talking about?
I heard them say something about a capability assessment. What does that mean exactly?
There are two ways to test that.
How can you now say you believe in us 100%? And why bother telling us to work together as a team to prove our sales? Do you think all of us are just a bunch of idiots?
Though I don't know what happened in there just now, I do know how hard Julie's worked to help Immortal become what it is. So if Julie is leaving Immortal, then I don't see any good reason for us to stay.
So many have left. Aren't any of us worth trying to keep? No one.
Baada ya kukamilisha mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhani, basi faalaika, ni juu yako ndugu yangu kufunga siku 6 katika Shawwal. Sawa sawa umefunga siku 6 katika 10 la kwanza katika Shawwal, au 10 la pili katika Shawwal ukafunga siku 6, au ukafunga siku 6 katika 10 la mwisho katika Shawwal.
Inshallah ningependa Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala atuwezeshe kutekeleza ibada hii funga ya 6 Shawwal ili tuweze kupata ujira ambao unatokana na kufuatiliza 6 Shawwal na funga ya mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhani.
Wiki hii kwenye Mkulima tutaangazia kilimo cha uyoga.
Mushroom kwanza ni ready food, very good for old people like me. It is very rich in protein and it is cholesterol free.
Kisha tuelekee jikoni tuandae kitoweo cha uyoga. Ungana nasi Jumamosi saa 10:30 hapa KBC Channel 1 kwa mseto kamili wa kilimo.
– 1 2 3 4 – 5 – 6 – 7 – 8 – 9 – 10 – 11 – 12 – 13 – 14 – 15 – 16 – 17 – 18 – 19 – 20 – 21 – 22 – 23 – 24 – 25 – 26 – 27 – 28 – 29 – 30 – 31 – 32 – 33 – 34 – 35 – 36 – 37 – 38 – 39 – 40 – 41 – 42 – 43 – 44 – 45 – 46 – 47 – 48 – 49 – 50 – 51 – 52 – 53 – 54 – 55 – 56 – 57 – 58 – 59 – 60 – 61 – 62 – 63 – 64 – 65 – 66 – 67 – 68 – 69 – 70 – 71 – 72 – 73 – 74 – 75 – 76 – 77 – 78 – 79 – 80 – 81 – 82 – 83 – 84 – 85 – 86 – 87 – 88 – 89 – 90 – 91 – 92 – 93 – 94 – 95 – 96 –
came here to find out about Mr. Oligario's health. But it turns out I find this ridiculous scene and this jerk is here, pressuring you to marry him.
Hey, watch your words, mister.
Don't let him pressure you, Fabiola.
Yes, speaking.
I need to see you now. Please, this is really urgent. Just tell me where we can meet.
Just tell me where you'll be and the directions. I'll meet you there.
Corina, many years ago, before you even came into this world, your mother was married to my son, the real owner of Las Bandidas. Why hasn't your father told you anything about it?
They called you up to offer you a job?
Yes.
How come? Who is sick, eh?
Just an old friend's husband. Do you remember Milena?
Corey? What's up? What happened? Fabi, I know everything. Now I know everything.
You lift me up high, you spread my wings and fly me to the sky.
Baada ya kukamilisha mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhani, basi faalaika, ni juu yako ndugu yangu kufunga siku 6 katika Shawwal. Sawa sawa, umefunga siku 6 katika 10 la kwanza katika Shawwal, au 10 la pili katika Shawwal ukafunga siku 6, au ukafunga siku 6 katika 10 la mwisho katika Shawwal.
Inshallah, ningependa Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala atuwezeshe kutekeleza ibada hii, funga ya 6 Shawwal, ili tuweze kupata ujira ambao unatokana na kufuatiliza 6 Shawwal na funga ya mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhani.
Live from the broadcasting house here in the county of Nairobi, this is the great KBC and this is KBC News Check. Well, in this program, we look at the things that are happening in the country, what is ailing the country, what are some of the news making or shaping the headlines in the country. Well, and talking about what has been trending in the country, on social media, everywhere, and even on the newspapers, is the Shakahola horror, for lack of a better word. 58 graves have already been dug and 58 bodies have been discovered in Kilifi County. And well, it has made quite a conversation, not only here in the country, and even if you peruse other social media and also international media, they are actually are being corrected 73 bodies to this moment. Well, the police and other stakeholders are still looking for other bodies in more than 800 acres of space and land in Kilifi County. Well, even the international media have made this one of their headlines just to show you how dire this situation is. Well, that is the discussion that we are going to have this hour, and thank you indeed so much for joining us. My name is Njue. Lucy Moura will be my colleague. She is on the bottom right of your screen. She will be handling the sign language interpretation. Thank you indeed so much for joining us, for comments, suggestions, or even where you are watching us from. We are live on all our socials. Well, right to the topic of discussion today, let me introduce my panelists. Beginning from my immediate left, we have Honorable Abdul Kore from Mandera South. He is the Member of Parliament, and just next to him we have Bishop Dagana. Bishop Dagana holds a number, or wears a number of hats. First, Bishop David Dagana is the Secretary General of the Federation of Evangelical Churches of Kenya, and also the founder and the presiding Bishop of Glory Outreach Assembly. Bishop, karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Well, even before we delve into this quite serious situation, I would like to pick your sentiments on the first day you heard about this, what came to your mind?
Disappointment, shame, a feeling of this should not have happened, and of course, grief for my fellow Kenyans, and even more grief for parents who have lost their children there, for spouses who have lost their partners there, which I am very sad about, and in my own way continue to send my own condolences and to pray for them as they go through this. It is really, it's really heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to go through what we're going through, and that is what came to my mind.
And you do agree something needs to give?
Absolutely, something, yes, absolutely.
Mheshimiwa, this is something that has caught a lot of people unawares, including our security agencies. The head of state yesterday equated this to terrorism, and rightfully so, because of the radicalization that is currently being witnessed in Shakahola.
Yeah, definitely. You cannot call it any other thing, but just like the bishop said, first of all, let me grieve with the families who've lost their dear ones, children, innocent children who've lost their lives in that gruesome manner, and people who've lost their spouses. And having said that, this is terrorism in its pure element. And when you talk of radicalization, we have seen students, from this cult who've been told not to go to school, not to seek treatment, students who have dropped even from colleges, students who have dropped from university, people whom you thought have been educated to a certain level, they will be able to understand certain things. But the way they have been hypnotized and the way they've been radicalized to believe in what they are doing is right. Somebody was being rescued yesterday on the verge of death because of hunger, and they could still insist and tell the security agencies, don't save me, I want to go to heaven, I want to go and meet Jesus, If that's not radicalization, I don't think we have to wait for IEDs exploding in our doorsteps or in our churches or in our mosques for us to think this is radicalization. This is radicalization in its pure element, and it starts in smaller ways like this. Like in the case of Shakahola, this so-called ministry, you've had people traveling from all over the country, people selling all the properties they had. Some travel with the entire family, children, wives, and husbands, and disappeared there, and they've died there. We don't know the count of the graves people retrieved now is about 73 now. That's an 800-acre piece of land. We don't know how many more will be discovered, and we even don't know whether this is just a tip of an iceberg. It could be something bigger than even what we're thinking about. For example, I would suggest our security agencies, when they're doing the post-mortem on those bodies, they should check whether even those bodies have all their body parts intact. It could be a scheme, it could be a business, it could be something bigger than what we think. And I think something needs to be done to regulate religious bodies. The law as it is now is very weak on managing religious bodies, because the Societies Act, which is governing religious bodies, needs a lot of amendments so that some of the cults like this don't find their way into our mainstream religious organizations. And it doesn't have to be, you don't need to think about the churches only. All the religious groups in this country, something needs to be done from the law perspective, so that rogue people like this, who play on people's psychology and who radicalize young people and families, don't find room to maneuver. I'm told from the early days, around 2018, this so-called Mackenzie found himself in trouble. People have burnt his churches because they thought he was doing things which were not right. But I don't know whether it's the lacuna in the law or the police just decided to look the other way because of the corruption we have in this country or other things. It's a bit sad. You know, it's a bit sad. From 2018, maybe we would have saved lots of lives if the law would have acted with speed to act on such individuals.
I totally concur, because yesterday at exactly 1 p.m. the IG, the Inspector General of Police, had an update which was reading 58 bodies. Now we are at 73, and the exhumation still continues. Bishop, the head of state yesterday during the pass out parade at the Kenya prisons in Ruiru said that we need to have an honest conversation in religious institution in the country. I would like to pick your mind on that, because matters of religion are quite emotive in the country, and the government, I'm quite sure, it wouldn't want to appear like it's regulating and infringing on some of the rights enshrined in Chapter 4 of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. Do you think we really need to have that conversation now?
Thank you so much. I agree. I agree with the President that we need to have the conversation, and I actually think we should have had it yesterday, because the things that we are seeing now are not they are not new to us. Only the magnitude is much higher. But I think one of the things, as much as we would want to have this conversation, one of the things that probably we need to desist from as Kenyans, I think we are very reactive. And we ought to be more proactive than reactive. Because when something like this happens, we react, just like you have correctly said. It is all over in the social media, it's all over in all media houses, it is in the international. We are angry about it, we talk, we propose solutions, we react. But if we were more proactive in looking at things before they happen, and when something happens, we don't just talk about it and leave it at that point, we could save a lot of lives. And I think I do not really understand whether it is that we have a lot of things that happens, because nothing lasts so long in our country. Nothing lasts so long. Something comes and we pick it up, all of us, it becomes our subject, and after some time another one comes and we take that on and we react to it. So I would really want to agree with the President about the conversation, but I want us to go beyond the conversation and have some systems and structures, and begin to look at, as Mheshimiwa has said here, not just religion matters. We have many areas where things like this happen and it becomes tragic disaster, and we just talk about it for some time and then that's it. Now, regarding the regulation, I think this is a long overdue conversation about regulation, and I do not think there is anyone who has ever been against regulation. The question has been how. That I think it is unanimous that definitely, and not just churches or religious organizations. That's what the government is about. That's what the government exists to do, to protect its citizens. About it, or you have a place to question, to hold that person accountable. But I guess our major concern as churches has always been when it comes to that the churches be regulated by the government. I think that's our major concern, because we do not honestly think that religious matters can be clearly or appropriately regulated by some kind of by the government, because I'm not sure all of them will fully understand them as they are, and the borderline between regulation and curtailing the freedom of worship would be very thin.
Yeah.
And how to determine that is always our major concern. So and the church should not be heard to be saying that they don't want to be regulated. Neither should they be heard to be saying they are anti-regulation, but they should clearly be heard to say that the church is for regulation, but self-regulation. Whatever self-regulation means, one way is under the umbrellas, because during the days of Professor Gethu Muigai, there was a lot of emphasis that all of us as churches must belong to certain umbrella bodies. And so we, depending on our religious affiliations and what we are more inclined to, churches identified, and so many umbrella bodies were registered. I think everyone who is for the welfare of the people and who is serious about doing church can't miss one umbrella bodies out of those that exist, under which they can subscribe themselves and subject themselves for accountability. Just it is.
I really concur with that, and being the Secretary General of the Federation of Evangelical Churches of Kenya, you will tell us exactly what is maybe the criteria of churches joining, because what we have witnessed in the country, we are not seeing this from the mainstream churches or churches that have association like this, like Goa. We cannot see some of the things that we are seeing here. But unfortunately, earlier on, we had a case in point which was broadcasted in media of Pastor Kanyari, who the media did unearth that he was lying to his congregants in terms of how the miracles are done. But we will get to that. Let's first of all rope in Wakili. Karibu sana. We're also joined by Gibson Gisore, who is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, and also he is also a political and governance expert. I'll begin from where Moses Masika Wetangula, the speaker, said. He's also a lawyer, and he said that indeed a lot of security organs were caught flat-footed. We're talking about even to the lists, Nyumba Kumi, the village elder,
and I'm happy to join the panel here, and it's good I've come and found them doing their discussion. I don't know where to start, but honestly, from where you have thrown the banner to me, I would want to say that when I saw Moses, the speaker, Moses Wetangula, say that, I tended to agree with him. I actually shared this post on Facebook and said, I guess this is where we need to start. Because much as what I've heard Bishop say here is the fact of churches trying to regulate themselves, but from me, I'm looking at it from a different perspective. These are crimes. These are crimes which have been committed. We've lost 73 plus, and we're counting. This is murder. This is I don't know whether this guy had burial permits to bury all these bodies. You can't be running a cult where you just have no law attached to whatever it is that you're doing. So to start with, from the point of government, I was really mad that I didn't see, had the president not spoken yesterday about it, I would have been worried that we are not safe. Because if the president or the leadership of the country cannot be able to address issues affecting people in such a magnitude, then we are doomed. But I think I want to thank the president for coming out clearly and saying that these are criminals who belong to jail. And that is actually the whole thing. It's appalling to realize that this particular Mackenzie pastor actually was arrested and released on a 10,000 bail. How? With all this, and I suspect he's even still free. I don't know whether they have arrested him. So these are things which are worrying. These are things that the local administration, starting from the Nyumba Kumi, starting from the chief, the assistant chief, even the neighbors, because that is condonation. You are condoning a crime. You know a particular crime is happening here, but you are just condoning it. We can't live a country where everybody will want to just decide to make his own laws and then go ahead and execute it. And then, you know, much as there's been an argument, I've been engaging with some people on social media. One of my friends believes that the pastor has not done anything wrong because his argument is that the Kenyans have assumption of being valuable. The Constitution can grant you as much, but not to the level that you end up losing life. The point you realize people have lost lives, that changes. That totally changes. We have not seen any member of the family of this particular pastor die. You've seen the emaciated bodies of those kids I've seen in social media. Why will we be allowing such things to happen in our country? We need to move fast. There was the aspect which Bishop has said, where Gido Muigai had tried to, when he was the age, tried to do regulation, and I've seen Bishop struggle with the aspect of government not coming to regulate. But then there is a clear framework on that. The Constitution talks of public participation. There will be nobody who will come to regulate churches, but the government needs to have a platform. We need to start somewhere to rein in on these rogue people who are claiming to be religious, because religion is not meant to kill people. Religion is supposed to help people get to heaven, but not get to heaven through death or suicide, or telling them that you should stop eating, you should stop taking kids to school. That goes against everything that we believe in, that even what the Bible actually talks about. So these are very serious, critical issues. Churches can be able to continue to do whatever it is that they believe in, but within the law. In Rwanda, we had a serious conversation. The Rwandese had a serious conversation on churches. They decided that, I mean, if you're going to preach to our people, we need to know where you get your doctrines from. You need to subscribe to some, you need to have gone to some school. You can't start you can't come from the bush. You start a church. And you started indoctrinating people on things which we don't know where you got them from. So let's first see which is the curriculum of the school you went to. Is the school approved? What doctrines do they believe in? Do those doctrines actually subscribe to what the Constitution says? So once we are at that space, we can be able to rein in on whoever it is that we feel is doing something contrary. We should have arrested all these crooks who are doing funny miracles, who are prophesying doom and trying to get to the mind, because religion is very powerful. Yes. And now the problem we have been through is actually the challenge I have. Our churches have become like political parties. You don't know which one is, every political party is promising to get you to heaven, but they do none of that. So we need to actually have a clear framework. That is, I think, my parting shot, that we need to have a clear framework. We need to get back to the bill and be able to look at the worries with the churches that, you know, at some point that the government will be coming in strong to rein in. There's no problem. There's what is called public participation. Let them come on board, be able to air their views, and then we have a clear-cut program or process or policy on how we should be able to exercise religion in this country.
And of course, we're going to come back to the DPP, because whatever he said yesterday as well, he pointed an accusing finger to the courts, and I'm quite sure Kenyans are wondering exactly where did we lose it. But to hold the thought, Mheshimiwa, looking at what a few weeks back we were looking at the LGBTQ, which also blew up the country, and now we are talking about this. Even your speaker, the day before yesterday or yesterday, said that indeed these people need to be arrested, including all the local administration, including the chief. They should be behind bars, because this is not something that has just happened. This is somebody who has had some issues in 2017, I think in 2018, had a run-in with the area MP then, who is the CS now, but nothing was done. I would like to see whether maybe in Parliament we would come up with something that could be, if it's not regulation, an audit on some of the religious sects that we have in the country.
Yeah, definitely. I think I agree, and I had said it earlier. You see, the moment somebody like this, you know, is arrested, and then is freed, And then, the public is frustrated to the extent that some of them, even in some villages in Kilifi, in 2018, burnt a few churches belonging to the same sect, from the frustration. So it means either our security agencies are corrupt to the core that they would look the other way when such things happen, or there's a lacuna in law which makes this guy go scot-free every time he's arrested. And I saw a clip yesterday. I don't know whether it was a long ago clip or it was a recent clip, where he was saying he didn't even force people to come to his churches. Trying to hide behind some kind of a legalist there, and I think I agree with the speaker that the security agencies in that part of the world needs to be held accountable. What happened? How come, like Wakili says, that a whole village or even neighborhoods, people are dying in their droves, and they're being buried, and in the typical culture of Kenyans, they watch and nothing happens. I think something needs to be done, and I think as legislators we will definitely look at the legislation and see whether the lacuna is in the law and do something about the law. And that question around regulation, even the bishop agrees, it's the how that we need to have that conversation. And that conversation is very important. Whether even the regulation by government or regulation by religious bodies, I think when we have a very serious conversation as Kenyans, very serious, honest conversation as Kenyans with all the religious bodies, we will definitely arrive at a solution. I can tell you we have a very beautiful country, and freedom of religion is one very, very important, I don't know what to call it, it's a cardinal thing we have. I was in Saudi Arabia in December performing Umrah, one of our rites in Islam. And I was joined there by Muslims from other parts of the world. And I tell you, there are some people from a particular country, I won't even mention the country, there are some people from a particular country, when we finished doing our Umrah and we were going back to our countries, I boarded the flight using my kanzu, the one I had when I was praying in Mecca. But these people left their kanzus and all the religious regalia in Mecca. And when I asked them why, they said in their country where they've come from, they will not have that freedom to worship. And they will be killed if they are seen, in kanzus. So freedom of, worship is something we cannot compromise. It's a very valuable thing we have as Kenyans. But we won't allow people, radicals like the ones we see, to abuse that freedom. And we must do something as Kenyans. First, we start with the conversation, and as legislators, I can assure you, we'll do something in Parliament to deal with the law.
Okay, and Bishop, looking at what is currently happening, and indeed you said we are quite a reactive country as opposed to being proactive. The clergy is coming out quite strongly now. But let's be very honest. We have seen some pastors do some fake miracles, and we do know, because the media has already exposed them. But all of a sudden now, Pastor Mackenzie comes around, that is when now the country now is shouting on top of the roof. We know that there are some sects in the country that are not advancing the freedom of association and freedom of worship the way they should, including some of the doctrines that we've mentioned here. Case in point, the Kavonokia, where they do not want the kids to be in hospitals, they do not want any formal education, they just want exactly what they want. But this is happening as we speak. It's happening. We could be only scratching the surface as we speak. It's a good thing that you mentioned that umbrella bodies like the Federation of Evangelical Churches of Kenya, the churches that have come out to be either sects or have been investigated are those religious sects that do not have church councils. They are not under any umbrella bodies. But this is something that has been happening in the country year in, year out. But hold the thought. Let's first of all go back to a story that was done in 2019 in regards to catechism, and then we go back to this live discussion.
These photos and a letter are the only tangible things left as a reminder of the 4 children of Benson Mutimba. He says the children, aged between 10 to 22 years, renounced education and left their home in Mitoti village in Mumias, Kakamega County for Malindi, Kilifi County. Early this month, the eldest was pursuing an accounting course at KBC University, while his 3 siblings are pupils at Mumias Central Primary School. Mutimba says his world changed 2 months ago when the children came across a televangelist from Malindi, Pastor Paul Mackenzie.
Tutaka kaa tu vizuri nyumbani tukua kuna maneno. Sasa wakati shule ilikuwa inafunguka, primary class 1 mpaka class 8 Mumias Central Primary School. Watoto wakaniambia wadogo, shule ikifunguka twende shule kwa dili. Juma ametuambia hiyo shule ni ya shetani, tutachomeka mbinguni. Kwa hivyo mimi sitaki kuchomeka, tumeonyesha tu moto kwa TV kama umeenda kazi.
In a recorded telephone conversation between Mutimba and his eldest son, the young man is heard explaining to his father of his newly acquired religious knowledge. In the conversation, the son also expresses reservations against Sodoma number, likening it to the biblical apocalypse of the beast, and admits burning his identification and education documents.
Ani certificate, nichome certificate zangu ama wewe umechoma zako? Nisijakusikia vizuri. Umechoma zangu. Wewe umechoma zako.
He is further heard urging his father to sell his property and relocate with the rest of the family to Malindi to fellowship at the church.
Kwa hivyo mimi nikuja na Grace na mama na Joshua, tutalala kanisani alafu tutapigwa chakula kanisani, kwa sababu sasa sitataka paka tuko na pesa kununua chakula. Tutafanya namna gani kama niko tu throughout kwa maombi na sina pesa?
Maadili yenu inafaa kuomba. Hata ukikataa kuuza itachukuliwa by force kama unaotuma namba. Hiyo ni sheria.
This one has a shape of a snake.
Mutimba accuses Pastor Mackenzie of indoctrinating his children with false religious teachings.
Na mimi nikwambia, kwani hii kanisa tunaendanga ya PAG na hii mambo ya Mungu tunafanyanga sio hiyo? Asema hapana, hiyo kanisa, hakuna kanisa hapa yenye inaomba mambo ya Mungu kama sio ya pastor. Ya pastor ndiye apeleka watu bingu, kwa sababu inasema ukweli. Uache kazi, Yesu hakuwa anafanya kazi. Uache kusoma, Yesu hakuwa anasoma. Uache kumeza dawa, na nyinyi mnameza. Kwa hivyo huyu ndiye anahubiri mambo ya kwenda mbinguni na dunia imeisha, Yesu anarudi.
Kulingana na maandiko ya kwamba elimu haitokani na Yesu. Kwa hivyo tukafanya uamuzi wa kuifuata imani na tuachane na dunia.
Pastor Mackenzie, who runs Good News International Ministries, has denied brainwashing Mutimba's children.
Anaenda yule mzee huko Nairobi akizunguka kwa media, anazunguka mpaka kwa human rights vile nilisikia akisema mimi nimeficha watoto wake, na ile hali watoto walitoka wenyewe kwao.
In May this year, the same pastor was arrested and charged with disobedience of the law, religious incitement and indoctrination of children. Malindi OCPD Philip Wambogo confirmed that the televangelist has been accused of similar cases in the past.
This is very true. The pastor is we have several cases in court of different nature.
On Thursday, police raided his church following allegations that several children were being held at the facility.
We went to the church of the said pastor and we arrested a total of 11 children or people. Out of the 11, 4 are people above 18 years and 7 of them are below 18 years.
Mutimba fears his children may have been lured into a cult.
Kuna magendo inaendelea huko Malindi na serikali hajajua vizuri. Na kama serikali imejua, ni wachache wamejua. Sasa ndio nilikuwa naomba kupitia kwa inspector wa polisi pamoja na CS Makoha wa education pamoja na internal security Matianyi wanisaidie nipate watoto wangu wako kule Malindi, wanipatie kwa mkono, alafu watoto wengine wenye wako huko ni wazazi wao mpaka Malindi wameliwa, peke wengine wamekufa, wamewacha watoto wao, wachukua watoto wawalete kwa serikali, alafu watafuta wazazi wapeane watoto kwao, alafu pastor achukue hatua.
We have not arrested the pastor, but he's with us always. Once the need come for arresting, we are going to arrest. Once we see the circumstances on how the children came into his hands as it is being arranged.
First reported in the 1930s, cults became the object of sociological study in the context of the study of religious behavior. 4 decades ago, Reverend Jim Jones, the charismatic leader of an American cult in the Guyanese jungle, ordered his followers to murder a U.S. congressman and several journalists, then commit mass suicide by drinking cyanide-laced fruit punch.
Very well, that is a report done by our very own Jackie Wambiru. That was on 27th October 2019. You've seen that father came all the way here to the broadcasting house and he's saying and he's urging and talking about the ministries and even mentioning the ministers themselves or the CAs themselves. He needed help. He was crying out for help. Well, we've heard it. Bishop.
Yes.
Hosea 4 chapter 6 talks about
my people perish for lack of knowledge.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
Yes. And Ben.
Yes.
I think based on that, the kind of conversation that the president was talking about yesterday, I think we need to have a broader perspective of it, a wider conversation. Like I said when I was starting,
yes,
our biggest problem as Kenyans is just being reactive instead of being proactive. And there is always that thing that keeps us very reactive. You have just mentioned LGBT, that's what we had another time. And everyone was up to it. Now it is this. And this will go, another one will come. But before we let us be careful, and let us be careful not to react to the point of diagnosing the wrong problem and prescribing treatment. Regulation could be part of it. But when you listen to such a story, you see there is more conversation that is needed beyond regulation. Because the first question you ask yourself, the parents of the children, like that one. He has come out, he has tried to seek for help. Why didn't he get help? Is that would the regulation of a church have helped that? If churches were being regulated, why didn't he get help? Now, number two, the churches that these people who have joined this cult go to, they probably belong to my church or somebody else's church, GOA or another church that is not a cult. Why didn't we teach them the truth so that they know the truth so much that when the fake comes, they can distinguish the false from the truth? So before we go to blame games and react and blame this and blame that, we need to look to widen the conversation and ask ourselves, what is it that I as a parent can do to ensure that I know where my children are going to, and before I blame somebody for brainwashing them, I have failed somewhere as a parent, and if I have taken a step like the one we have seen, whoever did not help me, who should have helped me, to the point of going to the media to ask for help, I believe that man came from a place where there's a system. Here we are talking of law and the legal systems. He came from somewhere where he would have helped, he would have received his help right at the grassroots before he came to look for it here. So the church, I have a responsibility to teach my followers the true, and by the way, there is only one gospel. Gospel is only one. And this gospel is about love, it's about life. Giving life is about love. It's not about killing. It's not about taking life. It's not about hating. It is a gospel of helping people grow and develop. It is not about stopping children from going to school. It's not against technology. It's not about denying people from going to hospital. But we do believe that you can be prayed for and receive the healing. And I want us, as we have this conversation also, that we do not crucify the church at the altar of the cultism and cults. And we need to distinguish. Is it the church? Is it the cult? Is it the occult? This, to me, is not even a cult. A cult is is a religious group that is indoctrinating people, leading them towards the wrong to become extreme. But when they already become extreme like this, and then they are ready to die, and somebody is ready to witness people die. When death comes in, that is occultic, that's satanic. That's satanic. And if we just react to something and just look at the solution in regulating the church and do not distinguish, we will not regulate the occult, we will not regulate the cult. We will be putting the problem where it doesn't belong to. If a rat comes to your house, Panya, do you burn the house?
No.
You don't burn the house. So when we have a Mackenzie or like a Nokia, and they have come into a 99.9% of churches that are building the welfare of the people, the spiritual, the physical, the education, we cannot wholesale blame the church. We are investing a lot of money into Kenyans as churches so that they go to school. 13% of my budget in Glory Outreach Assembly is in education. 13% of the total budget. It is in Njue High School, which I have built with our own church resources in Kinangop. It is in the Njue Educational Center, which we have built with our own resources, the primary school. It is in Lodwa, in a village where the government not even reached with education by 204. I went there and found people who had never been to school at all and built a school. When I build a school, I am the one who came to the then, those days, Speaker of Parliament, Ekwa Ethro, and invited him to go with me to his own village called Akatman. When we went there, the first thing he said, kumbe nimekuwa nikipoteza kura mingi namna hii. Because it's a village that is unknown. So, we built the first class. Those days, CDF had not even started working. But when CDF came, because they found the church has built a classroom, we challenged them, can you also build one? And we worked very well with the Honorable Member of Parliament, John Lodepe, then Central, Tukana Central. We had a simple policy. You church, build one classroom, we build one. Employ one teacher, we employ another. Today is a full big where there was no church in October.
These are the transformations that are required and needed in the country, not telling students not to go to school, not to go to...
And that is why I've talked about a lot. Getting into your house, you don't burn it, and you forget to see the beauty and the amount of money you spend building the house. People should open their eyes and see that the church in this country is investing a lot in education. The churches have invested in medical, they have hospitals. Some of the best hospitals in this country, needless to name them, belong to churches. But if we look at, because an occultic person has said don't go to hospital, then we say that churches are anti-hospital. Or an occultic person has said to children